iPhone 15 Pro Max versus iPhone 15 Plus months later. So I've had both of these since launch day, and they're nearing around that 6 month mark, maybe even getting close to 7. So they've been out for quite some time. And it's crazy to say that we're getting closer and closer to an iPhone 16. If you're looking around, you're also already probably seeing some rumors for the iPhone 16's camera going more back to like the iPhone 10, more in a vertical format versus this diagonal format. So we're already seeing 16 rumors, but how have these two stacked up next to each other, both 6.7 inch varieties, over the past 6 months? I'm going to start with the battery life here on these phones. So let me begin with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, the battery life on this, I've done a real day battery test, has been pretty darn impressive. It's a pretty easy, heavy all-day phone. And then the iPhone 15 Plus is also pretty darn impressive as well. Maybe even giving slightly better, if not the same type of battery life on the 15 Plus. So over my 6 months, either way you go here, you're getting very strong battery life. Either way, it's going to be very strong. The 15 Pro Max, though, is definitely not, to me, as strong as the 13 Pro Max was when it first came out, but it's a much big improvement over the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, the iPhone 15 Plus was a improvement over the 14 Plus, so very happy in this respect. I wouldn't really pick either just in the battery department here because they're both very, very strong in that department, as they're both large enough to house large batteries. Now, when it comes to months later, in terms of the cameras, now I definitely love the 15 Pro Max more. Clearly, from a spec standpoint, it's better. But for me, I actually found myself using the more zoom quite frequently. So that's really the big difference here, is that zooming ability on this phone. So definitely quite nice. And also the differences with the 28mm 35, the ability to punch in difference on the main camera lens. The video is not too much different between these two models, but overall, just that zoom has been really great. So it's a big improvement over the previous editions. Now, what I really liked about the camera for the iPhone 15 Plus, though, is that I feel like it's more than enough for the person buying this phone. This doesn't have a dedicated macro mode, though, and that's another major strength to me for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, so if you're really like into photography, like I am, I really love to do photography and videography. I think that you'll really, really like that. But I think that the 15 Plus, over my months using these two phones, has been more than enough for a person buying an iPhone. I think that this is the perfect kind of camera setup for someone who is not really a pro, photo buff or video buff, but still wants to do a little bit more than, weak photography that you'll find on some cheaper phones. So this is a really, really solid option. 4K at 60 here. And then if we go to photos here, you can see that they did allow you to crop in on that zoom camera up to 10 times zoom. So this phone actually has more than enough zoom for the average person as well. So a much easier camera setup. And then I feel like the Pro phone is definitely more of a pro experience. I feel like there's a good separation between like this being the pro camera and this being the regular camera. So months later, my pick is this, but if you don't need more than like 10 times zoom, this is enough for most people. So months later, when it comes to displays, first of all, both of these hit 2000 nits peak, and both of them get a 1000 nits regular, but I don't know why, but the 15 Pro Max to me looks brighter. I'm not exactly sure why. It just feels like a brighter phone overall. However, they have the same exact pixels per inch. So when you are kind of like inside of the applications, you'll never see any difference in sharpness, resolution. They have the same dynamic island, so that was the same experience as well. And they both have reduced bezels, but the ones on the 15 Pro Max, not sure if you can see it or if the camera picks it up, but they are definitely slightly thinner than the iPhone 15 Plus. But it's so slight and so minute, so minuscule, almost no one's really going to notice. So yeah, that's that. The contrast ratio on these are very well tuned, very accurate while not being dull, while not being over punchy. They've just about nailed it. The con, though, is that you can't really take these displays and really kind of like tweak them to your own color liking unless you go in accessibility, but that's not really what I'm talking about. Like there's no extra vivid modes. There's no saturation RGB values you can change. So you kind of get what Apple gives you, but at least they give you a really well-tuned display that you probably really won't care to tweak anyway. It really just works and it works well. Overall though, I would say the display is a win for the 15 Pro Max because of the one feature of ProMotion, which you probably knew I was going to say. It really is noticeable and it really makes the experience of the 15 Plus feel behind. Most people, or a lot of people in my comments have said, this is only reviewers talk about this, YouTubers talk about this, I don't care. I understand that you don't care, but you should care when you're paying $1,000 and you're getting kind of a display that is on phones that came out years ago, when you can buy Android phones for $400 that are giving you smoother displays than your $1,000 iPhone. Apple should be giving you 120 hertz. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you have to care, but I feel like from a value perspective, they should be giving you that at this point. Let me know if you guys agree down below. So how's the value for price point at this point? Now, value is very subjective but I'm going to try to be as objective as possible here. From an objective standpoint, I'm going to try to be as objective here as possible. You're getting a titanium build, which is a really high quality metal. You're getting triple cameras. You're getting a 6.7-inch display, which we've had for years, but reduction in bezels, one of the brightest panels out there, and you're doing it for the same price as the previous iPhones, maybe a little bit more, but pretty close to the same price they've been for a few years. So I think it's a pretty decent value on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, giving you all these upgrades, refinements, polish, and not really increasing the price drastically. So it's a decent value. The 15 Plus, what is the value for this one? Objectively speaking, you're getting a really nice change in design over the 15 Plus or 14 Plus. You're getting yourself a dynamic island, reduction in bezels, brighter display. Just overall a really nice feel on the back. The color infused glass, which really looks good on the black model here. Looks like a pure matte black, really gorgeous feel on board. At $999 though, with no 120 hertz, I feel like the value is I'm gonna take a point off. I feel like it's a little bit high here on this phone. Well, it is $899 to start, but still, it's up there. So $999, $899 is up there. So I do think that the 15 Plus needs to get that at that price point. That's it. Other than that, it's a really, really strong offering, really smooth, really nice iPhone. Feels like they just brought back an iPhone 12 Pro Max in terms of the performance kind of feel with the 60 hertz though, or something like that. Okay, so what about the performance? Well, we're looking at the Apple A17 Pro chip here on this phone. And basically, these are some of the only phones on the market that I don't even think about performance. I mean, the Galaxies are getting like that as well now. But they're just so good in this area that it really just doesn't matter to me anymore. In terms of like when I'm doing a comparison, I do the speed test because they're fun. But at the same time, I don't really even think about performance in the real world here when I'm doing a comparison between which to buy. I know they're going to be good on these iPhones. And the same is the case here for the 15 Plus. It has really great performance day to day. Definitely feels flagship in terms of the performance area. However, again, the 120 hertz, I have to mention it, definitely makes it feel a little bit, I wouldn't say laggy, but kind of gives it a little bit of a stutter that you don't see if you compare it to a 120 hertz. Once you get used to it though, as I mentioned in my other 15 Plus videos, I started to forget about it after a couple of days. So the 15 Plus is that kind of phone that when you compare it, you'll see it, but when you use it and own it, you'll forget about the fact that it doesn't really have, the 120 hertz, but it does have a really fast A16 Bionic chip that was found in the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and 6 gigs of RAM. While that has 8 gigs of RAM, this is still enough to run iOS, and I think it runs pretty flawlessly, and most people who buy this phone are going to be incredibly happy with performance day to day with pretty much no complaints. And I think that's a testament to Apple's polish, optimization, and refinement. I think optimization wins over anything. Really, we're seeing that with the Nothing Phone 2s these days, the Nothing Phone 2A, that you can have cheaper, specification like 60 hertz display and still have a very good experience if you get the optimization and the software right. And Apple has been doing that and refining that over the years, and the 15 Plus is the perfect example. If they didn't have the smoothest software, they would probably be forced to go with a 120 hertz display. But overall, this still runs like a champ just like the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, in terms of software, we're within an Apple library here. We have dynamic island additions, depending on what you're doing. Grid of icons. You have a nice widget set. You can also do some widgets on the lock screen here. If you go ahead and customize, go to lock screen, customize right here. You can add widgets there. You also can do what you call it on here, the always on display, which is an advantage to the software on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So that's not there. I'd give that point to the 15 Pro Max. But other than that, they get the updates at the same time. They both have 17.4. They're both going to get iOS 18. And so your updates will be pretty regular on both. And the actual experience, I feel like I'm using the same phone. One is just more smooth with its ProMotion. That's about it. Other than that, it's the same exact phone. So that's what's nice. You can go different price ranges, get the same experience no matter which iPhone you go with. And that's how I've been feeling about these months later. So while months later, I've loved the always on display of the 15 Pro Max, the smooth refresh rate, there's one area where I just cannot get over the 15 Plus. It's the weight, the comfort, the ergonomics. While this one is smooth as butter as well, on the left here, the 15 Pro Max, lighter than a lot of other iPhones before, this one takes it to the next level, dropping it all the way down to 201 grams with this really, really nice feel. So this phone right here just feels super light in the hand. It's super smooth to hold in the corners. And if you wanted a large iPhone or just a large phone in general, you should definitely cross shop this one. It feels super light, super nice to hold. And while it's not budget phone light, you're not going to get budget phone battery life, and you're not going to get budget phone, performance. So I'll take your budget phone plastic. So I'll take the nice aluminum build while still feeling quite light and manageable. So the 15 Plus wins in the ergonomics and the comfort. Also, the 15 Plus and iPhone, because of their corner mounted cameras, they definitely wobble. It's wobble city here if you're using these on a table, so keep that in mind. And the 15 Pro Max's camera bumps are definitely larger, so they probably need more protection. If you're OCD about stuff like that, keep that in mind. They're a little bit larger, and I'd be a little bit more worried about them hitting. Because they just stick out so much, I feel like if you drop this without a case, there's a chance those are cracking for sure. So that's something I would think about protecting if you were investing in these phones. What I really liked about the 15 series was their bigger feel, change field. Like, I feel like Apple does keep things pretty similar year to year, but I feel like this year they felt quite different. And mostly for the 15 Pro Max, months later, it came down to titanium feel, lighter body, smoother corners, dynamic island, reduced bezels, while the 14 Pro Max is quite similar overall. This just felt more refined, more polished, and it feels like a major leap if you're coming from something like an iPhone 13 or 12, like a standard model, and you come to something like this, major difference right there. Or even if you come from like a 11 Pro Max, huge upgrade right there as well. Or even 12 Pro Max would be a pretty solid one also. Now the 15 Plus here though was a big departure from the 14 Plus with that notch. This has a dynamic island, and it really feels like it's its own model now. Last year just felt like a blown up 13, the 14 Plus. Now it feels like we have a proper, just large, like slightly less premium 15 Pro Max in the 15 Plus. So this is a really popular item as well. I think it's a really good option in the marketplace for Apple, but I would say that it can get a little bit better with just a ProMotion or even a 90 hertz. Keep the cameras less. People aren't just going to buy this only just because it has that feature. Keep the CPU less, the camera less, and it still won't be as good as the Max, but still offering a little bit more value than it does now. In a surprising turn of events, the iPhone 15 Plus actually has a little bit louder audio than the 15 Pro Max. I measured around 3 decibels louder on my audio decibel meter when testing these two. So kind of weird, but is what it is. The iPhone 15 Pro Max, slightly less loud, but both of them pretty darn loud phones. If you crank up the audio, people are definitely going to hear what you're playing on that phone. They also have really good speaker phones, but the 15 Pro Max actually has a better USB-C Type 3.2 versus USB-C 2 on the iPhone 15 Plus. And keep in mind though that those things only really matter if you're kind of like doing pro stuff, transferring files, photos, videos to your computer. And I know some people are going to say, well, you don't need to be a pro to be transferring stuff. Well, not really. But at the same time, I feel like people that are going to be heavily using that cable will benefit more from having the Type 3.2. Like if you're constantly like transferring files. Other than that, it's not really a big issue. But I feel like the 15 Pro Max charges a little bit faster in my experience as well. Months later, both were really solid phones. Both have Wi-Fi 6, but this one has 6E. This one just has 6. And both of them have emergency SOS features. They both come in multiple colorways, but the 15 Pro Max comes in a little bit less color options. Most of them are titanium. They're actually all titanium: black titanium, white titanium, blue, and this natural you see here. This one right here comes in black, blue, green, yellow, pink, and we might even see a spring color option coming soon for the 15 model. So we'll have to see if Apple launches a spring color update for the 15 and 15 Plus. That might be coming soon. Maybe. Usually every year they do launch a new color option in the spring. So wrapping it up here, months later between these two, how do I generally feel now after having both and extensively using them? The 15 Pro Max truly is a pro phone for two type of people. One who's truly doing pro features, and another person who truly loves having the latest and greatest bleeding edge of tech. No AI features, which should be coming soon for the iOS 18. So that could really upgrade this phone's experience. But from an iPhone perspective right now, this is the best of the best, the creme de la creme. It is the king, you know that. But at the same time, I think this is a much better offering than the 14 Plus last year. And if you're still looking to pick one up, I don't know if they're going to bring the 60 or the 120 hertz later this year. So you might as well just grab a 15 Plus if you're in the market for one. This has been a really solid option as well. It's only let down by that one feature I keep mentioning. At the end of the day, though, I love its battery life. I love its ergonomics, its size. Its performance is really strong. Dynamic Island at less than $1,000, which you always had to pay for the Pro to get that. It's a really nice experience and really feels quite good to use every day. So really, really good standard option. And then for those who really need the extra features, the more premium experience, definitely go Pro. You'll be much happier if you're that person. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and enjoyed this months later comparison. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.